Welcome to this 14th session,
14th.
I think, of...
Yes.
Yep, 14th session of Hereticus. And we might as well jump right into it with a small recap of what happened last time. Last time, you guys, or rather, most of you, went back into the mid-hive to investigate the heresies going on there. And you investigated a manufactorum that was located near the Screaming Wheel Cantina. Medea spotted one of the cherub masked men and followed him. She saw him going into the manufactorum unhindered by the guard standing at a checkpoint. And so she contacted Sister Francesca and Accolon, who had gone in through the main gates, so to speak, and informed them of this. And long story short, the owner of the manufactorum, a gentleman named Potus Marcus, presented himself to the acolytes after they'd murdered some guards at a checkpoint and started a near riots, almost at least.
Oh, Mexican standoff situation.
Yes, which exactly. It resulted in a Mexican standoff with the many guards in the manufactorum raising their weapons against the acolytes. But this Potus Marcus told his men to stand down and presented himself to these acolytes, confessing to a long range of crimes against the Imperium. And after he'd confessed to this, basically committing heresy, conspiracy to commit heresy, several counts of murder, and so on and so on and so forth and so forth. And he provided a long list of the many people he was working with, or who was working for him specifically. They made to leave the manufactorum with this prisoner. That is, until Sister Francesca put a bullet in his head. Meanwhile, a bolt or shell. Medea herself.
It's efficient. You gotta admit, it's
really
very
is.
effective.
It
it's
really
messy
is.
though. I'll grant you that. It
Yes.
is messy.
He no longer has a brain.
It's not the cleanest method of execution, but it does work.
Yes.
Maybe not the cleanest, but it worked.
Yes.
Speaking of clean, Medea also emptied a few clips in the cherub-faced, or rather one clip in the cherub-masked man, and another 2 clips in a manufactorum worker that he was.
No, just 2 birds. All in all, 1 clip.
Bursts. Yeah, that's true.
10 bullets, 10 bullets, 10 bullets.
Yes.
Equals 30. 1 clip.
Yes, that's true. And so those 2 gentlemen also died, rather horribly. Before.
I don't know. They got a very holy death.
Ha 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 ha.
Don't worry, I made them holy before they died.
Yes.
That's the second time in as many sessions that you've made a holy joke. You know.
Yes.
Well, she made the guy she shot very holy.
Yes.
Yes, that's because it's
Quality over quantity. You make one
funny.
big hole, and I made a lot of small ones.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
No, it's fine. It's good. It's all good.
Meanwhile, elsewhere. So that's basically where we ended the session with you guys. I think going back to the Tricorn. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the sector, or in the hive, not the same sector, but in the upper spires of Hive Sibelius, Trina and Tim investigated a minor noble named Lance Bulchan. Yeah, so you reckon that's a date, do you?
No.
With Tim taking up a position of overwatch across the street from this Gul'jan estate, and Trina going in there. Tim had to deal with two well-equipped, well-armed individuals, killing them both with headshots before Trina commanded him to join her in the Gul'jan estate. When he reached the estate, there was no lights, there were no sounds, and he eventually found Trina standing in the dining area with a person behind her holding a gun to her head. And Tim then neutralized this individual before.
Quite efficiently, I might add.
Yes, before Trina took a knife and stabbed the man to oblivion. They then proceeded to into the basement of the estates, where they found a person in the cellar. Trina was the only person to see the front of this person, as he was kneeling, his back to the door they entered through, and she filmed the man with her pic recorder before shooting him. Apparently, shots to the head is common practice among agents of the Inquisition.
It works.
It really does.
It's a fundamental principle of the Materium that creatures of the Materium do not survive without their head.
That is true. That is true.
Remove brain and problem solved.
Yes. And also, it should be mentioned that Trina and Tim found another one of these strange geometric floating thingamajigs in the cellar with this man.
I mean,
so
just everywhere. I mean, they're leaving them out like you can pick up these dark artifacts that could end the universe 10 a penny in High Sibelius, it seems.
It appears so, yeah.
Well, probably because there quite literally happens to be 10 of them.
Yes.
Well, spend a penny.
Badumch.
Yes.
And you'll be here all week, right?
Yeah, I will be.
Good.
Well,
Is this
maybe,
revenge for all
but
the times that I've done it to you?
At least for the next 3 hours.
Yes, at least that.
So then, after having cleared the estate, investigated the estate, and finding whatever they could find, Trina and Tim also headed back to the Tricorn, and that is more or less where we pick up. I think we'll establish that everyone has returned to the Tricorn at this point. That's just easier.
Yes, it is.
It should be mentioned that the Death Watch Space Marines are no longer present in the Tricorn. They've left.
Moved on.
Yes.
I'm sure they have a mission of their own, and consequently, yeah.
Mission that I'm sure that our beloved GM will one day want us to play with him in the distant future.
I think he should love for us to do so, but I think he's probably going to want to wait until we get the new Warhammer 40k role-playing game. Cheap plug.
Cheap plug indeed.
Very, very cheap, considering that, let's face it, you, of all of us, probably like Games Workshop and all they stand for the least.
Yes. I love the work that they've done on their settings. I hate their business practices.
Yes, I agree.
Anyway. Sorry.
Yes. And it should also be mentioned that Trina, immediately upon arrival at the Tricorn, disappears. Not poof into thin air, but she vanishes somewhere inside the Tricorn with that geometric thingamajig you guys found.
I remember because I said last time I was waiting for her to get up, but I suppose if that takes like 14 hours, I'll go find something better to do.
Let's just say that at some point Tim's patience wears out.
I wouldn't say it like that.
Tim's patience wearing
it's
out?
Tim.
Oh my god.
Yes, Tim's patience wears out.
In that case, that's going to take, I don't know, 18 hours.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It won't take quite that long, but let's put it in other words. Tim gets the distinct impression that she might be there for a bit. So,
Fair enough.
yeah. The rest of you, what are you planning on doing now that you've returned?
Finding the nearest person who isn't obviously Trina, it seems, to pass on the wealth of evidence that we have collected from the newly deceased Photos Marcos. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, I don't. I don't want to waste any time on that. On anything else, at least we've got. Well, we've got a recorded confession. We've got all the names from that of all his accomplices and all of these things in the what is it called on recording. So
Yep.
yeah, I might as well get it all handed off. And obviously, I will do what I usually do. I'm gonna no, actually, this time I'm not actually going to go and pester the Medici. I'm not going to pester Mr. Mons this time. I'm just going to dump the corpse in the morgue.
Okay.
And enter obviously enter a file on who and what and the circumstances of his demise and so on.
I hate to interrupt your train of thought on this matter. I think we did meet up with Mons and drop off Marcus' corpse last time. He said he was going to turn him into a servitor, and we debated.
That's true.
No, that's my.
I mean, we debated what kind of criminal and heretic you'd have to be to not be made into a servitor.
Yes, that's correct. No
All right.
problem.
Cool. If that's the case, then you've already dropped off the corpse and.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Need to find someone, I don't know, the drill abbot or someone related to the Inquisitor, or maybe we can interrupt Trina. Maybe she would appreciate having the information to add to the investigation immediately. I don't know.
Possibly.
Must go and brave her wrath and find out.
I think she's in a good mood. She got the last kill and all that.
And
Well, we do need to find her in any case, so
Yes.
let's seek out Trina.
Yes. It takes a while, of course, because the Tricon is a Tricon. The Inquisition is a Byzantine organization, so things take time.
Put it mildly, yes.
Yes. But eventually you do. Someone tells you that she can be found down in the archives, and it just so happens that you find Tim standing outside the archives.
Howdy. That's not what he says.
I certainly hope.
I'm looking at the pictures. I'm sorry.
I made little orb.
Oh my goodness.
Frickin' fox fella.
Yep.
Accordion.
People.
Accountant. Twitchy.
Love
So
that.
just for our viewing audience, this is something that Rasmus I think he's done these drawings for all of our
Yes.
games we're currently playing, and this is no exception apparently. So
God Almighty.
I'll just leave that on the screen for a bit for you to enjoy.
Yes.
Is this the flamer?
Yes.
Flame, yes. I like the fact that it actually looks like she's farting flame.
Her hair turned out to be so big I couldn't put the flavor anywhere.
Nice.
It's hilarious. It is definitely hilarious.
It really
I'm
is.
having a blast here.
It looks like an exhaust pipe going out from her.
Yep.
She's got a...
Armor.
Basically, this is not a flamer, it's a blowout.
Yeah, it looks like an exhaust pipe that's poking out from her suit.
Yep.
Yes.
It really does.
Oh, God.
That explains her facial expression. Look,
Yep.
she's farting.
Yep. Well, back to the Calixus sector.
Yes.
Yes.
I think they will find that Tim has started maintaining his gear.
So what they also find is themselves standing in front of a large set of double doors, inscribed with various sigils that Sister Francesca and Accolon certainly recognize as holy scripture. Standing in front of these massive doors is a squadron of stormtroopers, inquisitorial stormtroopers.
Yeah, okay. Well, that... I know that trying, if we were meant to be, if we were meant to go in there, we would know. And there is no point in trying to talk your way past inquisitorial stormtroopers. Unless you're a space marine, you're not getting past them. And even space marines, or an inquisitor, but even a space marine is probably going to have to pull rank on them.
Yes, absolutely.
These people have no. They have no. They have. I don't know if it's because they have a collective death wish or if it's because they're just that stubborn. But yeah.
Something that that they like to foster in stormtroopers means you can get more out of them before they die on the battlefield.
Oh, I suppose yes.
But yes, okay. So we're not getting in, basically.
Oh, that's the scene at least when you arrive. Is these stormtroopers standing in front of the door, and you see Tim standing there as well. But yeah.
Well, my first reaction then would be to look over at Tim and say, "What is going on?"
Oh, Trina and I returned some time ago.
Okay.
I was unsure on whether or not she wanted me to wait, so I figured I might as well maintain my gear while I waited.
Excellent idea, but she's in there, I take it.
Yes, we found one of those things.
Right. We may have found one of the people behind, or at least we found someone who, by his own confession, was involved in the collection and use of these things. He was kind enough to give us all of the friends of his good, the names of his good friends before I removed his brain.
Well, then I suppose we have somewhere we could start looking.
I think so. But I should like to first and foremost report to Trina and hand over all our findings and the taped recordings and so on. We basically took the entire... Let's just put it this way. Medea found one of the baby faces down there, so there are still some left, clearly. He walked with his mask through the crowd, past an armed checkpoint into one of the manufactorums down there.
I see.
And when we followed, we had to kill some of the guards to get in. Inquisitorial seal notwithstanding, we actually had to burn several of them before we got in. At which point, we found ourselves in a standoff with about, I don't know, how many guards were there, Accolon, would you guess? A lot?
Large squad or small platoons worth, yes.
Yes, large squad, small platoons worth of armed guards, all pointing their weapons at us pointing our flamers at them. And then the owner of the manufactorum arrived, surrendered, told us that he was behind this entire, or involved in this entire affair. I did ask him why he was so eager to surrender to the Inquisition, and his response was that he was in no hurry to die. My response to that, of course, was to get him to, well, on record, literally, while he was being recorded. He was, I made sure that he gave us all these names. He gave a full confession, gave us every kind of information that we could want. And then I turned him around and said, come on, let's go. And we were about to go back to the Tricorn, except I have no intention of bringing someone to the Tricorn who is so eager to get here when we know he is involved in the use of these black objects that we're picking up here, there, and everywhere, while our Inquisitor is currently fighting for her life with one of these things lodged in her forehead.
Sounds like a sound decision.
So I removed his brain. I did bring the rest of him.
Might have some use for that.
I figured.
It sounds like you found a festering wound in need of cauterization.
Personally, I am of the opinion that that entire part of the middle hive needs to be cordoned off, and the air supply needs to be cut off for 48 or 62 hours or something along those lines. And when everybody in there is dead, we send in a lot of, spend the next, I don't know, 6 months or a year, sending every available servitor in there to clean out the mess and then repopulate the place with non-heretics. The whole place is so infested with this filth that it beggars the imagination. When these creatures can literally walk down the street, walk past armed guards into a manufactorum producing weaponry for the Imperial Guard.
I am in complete agreement. I don't think there's anywhere where the disease has not taken hold.
Indeed. And my point is also that if we do it the way I just suggested it, there's no reason why that manufactorum couldn't be back up and producing weapons for the Imperial Guard in 6 months or a year, with new with a new workforce.
Unfortunately, he says, and lowers his voice a little.
Mm-hmm.
We might also have to look further up.
Well, I think we already kind of knew that. That was, after all, the reason why you went where you did. But I take it that you found something as well.
Aside from the thing. Yes.
Yeah.
I can recount what happened, but...
Well, I'd like to hear it from you. Because we work together on a daily basis. We work for Trina.
Sure. He shrugs. I assume it's not something that needs to be hidden from the guards nearby.
No, it wouldn't be.
Plus,
okay,
they're inquisitorial. They're inquisitorial people as well. And even if it was, we could always just, move to the opposite side of the room.
Well, we went to the manor up in the upper high.
Mm-hmm.
I took overwatch in the abandoned building across the street, and Trina went in.
Okay.
Spotted a few figures moving about when I heard someone coming to investigate my position. Trina wanted me to join her, so I took care of them and went to find her.
Took care of them, as in they were when they weren't just local residents in that building, I take it.
No, they looked to be hired mercenaries.
Okay, that's quite apart from the fact that it's a good thing that you took care of them. Not that I'm too surprised, you're a very capable man, but it's also it's worrying in that how the hell did they know you were there?
I don't know, but it's worth looking into.
Yeah.
It was an abandoned, what was it, Arbites building?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was an abandoned Arbites building. I don't know if they had it rigged to see if anyone came back.
Well, that's possible, obviously, but even so, if it's right across the street, so to say, from a building belonging to people that are getting investigated for high crimes, treason, and heresy. I don't believe in coincidence.
Neither do I. In any case, I entered into the manor. I was in contact with Trina throughout most of it, but she went quiet when I approached the room she was supposed to be in.
All right.
I had picked up a laser scope from one of the mercenaries and decided that it was a bit odd. I threw in the laser scope, and it turns out I was right, as someone shot at it.
Oh.
I then found another way into the room and saw a man holding Trina hostage. I was unsure of how things would play out, so I shot him, severing the connection from his spine to his head.
Very efficient.
He fell to the floor, and Trina finished him off.
I think at this point, Francesca looks at Achelon with this slight, very, very, very slight crooked smile, saying, "That's somewhat more surgical than what I did, I think."
I mean, yes, cleaner and more precise.
I wanted to make sure his reflexes didn't have him do something unfortunate.
Yes.
Then we continued our investigation, found a man, Trina recorded him, and we found a thing and killed him. Correct me if I'm wrong, Heine, I don't actually remember. Completely.
No, that sounds... yeah.
Then we returned here, and, well, Trina went in there.
Right. Well...
Quite an adventure.
It sounds like it for all of us. Yeah, we are facing something very, very, very serious. This is not some minor cult having decided to, I don't know, out of spite or mistaken beliefs in their own superiority or some idiotic sense of adventure or whatever, who have decided to make to see if they can get away with heresy of some kind. This is not it. This is really serious. We're talking potentially millions of people who are in one way or another under the influence of this heretical cult. They might not be aware of, for the most part. I don't think that most of the people down there know that what they're doing is heretical, but a lack of knowledge is not an excuse.
If anything, it just makes it more dangerous.
Indeed, damning your own soul is no less serious just because you don't know that you're doing it. And these people down there, I mean, we should have probably seen the severity of this from the get-go when we realized that these street preachers were allowed to walk around in that sector with no one stopping them. In fact, one of the things I really, really want to have a word with Trina about is I really think that the Arbites is compromised.
I'm inclined to agree.
And it would also explain why the Arbites, who on in terms of the Imperium in general, are very much subject to the Inquisition's commands, in this particular subsector, somehow have managed to make it so that they are on par or equal to, or at least need to be taken into account. The Arbites, if given an order by any Inquisitor anywhere else in the Imperium, will quite literally have to drop whatever they're holding and do what they're told. They have command over, the Arbites can move between Imperial worlds, obviously. They hold jurisdiction everywhere. It's not like they're the local planetary law enforcement or anything of the sort. I know that. But they are so far beneath the Inquisition in terms of authority that it's not even, it's not even comparable.
No. And even aside from the arbiters being compromised, if the evidence provided by the late Mr. Marcus is authentic, it's not just them, but several imperial institutions, the administratum, the ecclesiarchy, for the Emperor's sake.
Well, we already knew about the ecclesiarchy, otherwise
yes,
why would we see a bishop cutting out his own ribs? But yes, you are right.
That was,
yeah.
Granted, it was a mighty cathedral, but it was one cathedral. This extends further than that.
Yes, it would be systemic if this is true. And personally, he had no reason to lie. He thought, when this was happening, he thought that he was buying his life. And I also very firmly believe that he thought he was buying his life in a way which would have no consequences for him, because he had some kind of plan when he came here. I have no doubt of that at all. Nobody goes with the Inquisition voluntarily to the Tricorn upon charges of heresy with the words, "It's better to just come peacefully. I'm less likely to die that way."
Makes you want.
Well, yes, somebody might do that if they were complete imbeciles. He clearly wasn't. So the point here is, she has a very she pales somewhat, and her face gets drawn. The lines on her face gets drawn. We need to find out, or rather, we don't. But Trina and Inquisitor Dex, because they are obviously the ones with the authority to do this. But we are on the seat. This world is the seat of imperial power in the entire Calixis sector. This is not just some backwater planet. Scintilla is the heart of the entire Calixis sector. If even one of these vile creatures have managed to get as far as even the front office of Sector Lord Hax's court, this is. Yes, we definitely need to talk to Trina and as soon as possible.
If you want to spread a poison around a system, why not start with the heart?
Exactly. They could preach to outlying villages on rural worlds and agro worlds and never get any real traction, but nobody would probably discover them until, I don't know, maybe in a few hundred years, and then that little farming community would be burned to a cinder, and then that would be it, and nobody would remember it. That's not what this is. That's not what this is.
No, it is not.
Also, I think it's just a little too convenient. Just a little too convenient that the attack on your homeworld, she says and looks at Akalon, which is a shrine world. Let's face it. It's a place of pilgrimage. It's not a place that holds any economic or production value to the Imperium. It's a place of faith.
Well, to be Akon frowns. To be fair, yes, it is a place of faith, but it was until quite recently primarily an agri world. It does still have
but there are many agri worlds in the sector as well.
True.
So again, I don't believe in coincidences, and the fact that a seat of imperial faith is suddenly under attack by heretical forces, while something this serious and this sinister is taking place. I'm starting to worry what will happen when we find all of these items and bring them together. I'm starting to wonder if that's not what the people behind this want us to do.
It is a possibility, but
perfectly honest with you, I think we'd be better off finding these 10 objects, putting each of them on a black ship under the heaviest possible guard of the most, my sisters, if nothing else. That would be, they would at least have the training to withstand the corrupting influences, and then send them these 10 objects to 10 different corners of the Imperium and keep them under lock and key in the heaviest fortresses. Bringing them all together just seems too much like what all these signs are. Everything we've seen speaks of this black armored skeleton standing on top of a pyramid with these objects swirling around it.
If it weren't for the fact that these artifacts might have some degree of possession to them, I would almost recommend that we take them apart from each other and hurl each one into a star.
Yes, except we can't be certain that would actually destroy them.
No.
It may be worth mentioning when we speak to Trina then.
Well,
I definitely think so. Well, she doesn't sit down. We might as well wait. We need everyone here for that. All of us. All 4 of us for that.
I will, yeah, speaking of, Akalom doesn't sit down. He stands up straight and says, I will go and see if Dia is not required by the Drill Abbot as of yet. We might...
That would be a good idea. Please do. Please bring her.
Akalon goes off then.
Okay. And where does Akalon go off to? Does he go to find the Drill Abbot?
Yes, he'll go to the chapel.
Okay. Well, the Drill Abbot is there.
I mean, yeah.
Howdy!
No, he doesn't say that.
Will you stop
Boy,
saying
howdy.
Stop saying howdy. I do not need you to be either a cowboy or a genocidal flower. Thank you.
I don't care what you need.
Oh.
Ooh, burn.
Yep.
You better be careful. I might actually burn him.
Ooh, cool. Okay.
So.
Yes, you reach the chapel, and like I said, the Drill Abbot is there. So.
Oh, come on. I keep forgetting, how would I address him? Just Drill Abbot or...
Hey, Bob.
Shut up.
Please shut up, Tim. Well, a Drill Abbot would be fine. Or
Greetings, Drill Abbot.
he turns his head to look at you and says, greetings, Akalon. How might I be of service?
I've come in search of Medea. Has she been by here?
That is actually a good question. So Medea went back to the Tricorn with Accolon and Sister Francesca. What did Medea do when she arrived at the Tricorn?
I'm pretty sure she said something about finding the drill abbot.
She did say that she would.
Okay, then we'll just rewind for a bit.
What the hell's going on?
They both developed acute constipation.
Oh, that
It's
happens.
because I'm stretching.
Let's rewind that for a bit. So the drill abbot says how he asks how he may be of service, and what does Accolon then say?
I don't know. The same thing I said about has Medea been
Oh, yeah, that's right.
come to see
cool,
you?
cool. Ah, yes, she has. She follow me, please. And the drill abbot leads Accolon to a small cell within the chapel, where Medea is sitting. She's been placed there by the drill abbot. He's asked her to pray, and he would do the same, but he finds it necessary for her to pray in solitude, and that's why he's placed her in this cell. But he opens the door. Medea is sitting there, and he just motions with a hand toward Medea, indicating that, well, there she is.
Mm-hmm.
Question.
Yes.
Has he at least been kind enough to teach her a prayer?
Well,
Go pray. I don't know.
Well, I imagine that the teaching of prayers happened during the 3 days or so she spent in the chapel with him, when you last returned to the Tricorn.
Yeah.
Well, there she sits, or stands, or lies. I don't know. That's really up to Aya. But Medea is in this cell.
Why have her pray in solitude, drill abbot?
It is. I admit it's a test of sorts to see how that might affect her and the things she struggled with.
Yes.
By the looks of it, she haven't taken it very well. There's quite a bit of blood everywhere.
Oh, why is there blood everywhere?
Well, blood calms her down. So her arms are completely shredded in an attempt to gain the focus to actually pray, but she's praying calmly now.
She needs to get the what's it called, that talent flagellant.
I was about to say is that
Yes.
that Accolon is horrified not because she's flagellating, but because she's clearly doing it in the wrong way. The pamphlet explicitly states. I'm going to keep bringing this up. Do it in this way. Otherwise, it's not only unhealthy, but
It's pretty obviously she's tried doing it the way she's seen others do it.
Yeah,
But she can't feel any pain, so it's probably gotten a little too deep than it should have been, and that's why there's more blood than there should have been. Because the pain can't focus her because she doesn't have any pain. But it's quite obvious she's tried it.
So the drill abbot then ends his sentence with, and I suppose that didn't work.
Really?
Really?
I'm really tempted here to do the whole duh. I'm not there.
No.
But she is calmly praying the way she's seen Francesca doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Muttering the prayer to herself.
Emperor's mercy. Should I take her to Medicae Mons, do you think? Or do you believe she will be... I mean, for a first attempt at flagellation, it's a little zealous, but...
It is, as I would call it, a fiasco.
Take her to Medicae?
No, I've had a bit of medical training on the battlefield, so I can patch her up. No need to involve Medicae Mons in this.
Fair enough. Regrettably, I do need to retrieve her relatively soon, but I will stay with you and help where I can.
That is well enough. I need to figure out how to proceed from here, because it's clear that our good friend Medea needs some kind of help, and obviously this wasn't the right solution. Oh, let me fetch some bandages, and I'll see what I can do.
Yes.
At least gave him an A- for effort.
Yes.
A for effort. He left you on your own to do your own thing. That's about the minimum amount of effort one could put in.
Yes.
No, she needs A- for effort.
Oh, right. Oh, yes, fair enough.
And
I mean,
yeah, sir, go
I'll
ahead.
definitely give her. I'd give her an A for effort, not even an A-. I think what she was doing is admirable. You know, bleeding to death for the Emperor is a holy thing.
Yep. Well,
But you were also told that cutting herself would be wrong, so she tried to do it the official way, but it didn't
Yes.
go well.
We need to get her a Cilice.
yes.
Oh, God, no.
But those don't work when she can't feel the pain.
That's a good
No,
point.
but even if she can't feel the pain, a Cilice will still work because it will slow the blood circulation to her leg, which even if she can't feel the pain or not, would make it very difficult for her to stand or support herself on that leg, meaning that there would still be a physical disadvantage even if there isn't physical discomfort.
Plus, of course, the fact that depending on the amount of pressure one uses as least, you will feel the pressure of a metal band or leather band wrapped around your leg, even if.
So
But she would
basically, she will be handicapped so she can have her head blown off in battle. Okay.
Well, you wouldn't be using it in a battle situation. You would be using it when you are, for example, at home and praying. For instance, that would be the general idea.
Okay, because the other thing is just, that's what they give the people they don't want to see anymore. Here,
No.
put this on, go out and shoot stuff, and then see if you survive. Ta-da!
No, the idea would be for her to have that so that she could as I said, the pain wouldn't register, but she would disadvantage herself. And if you simply make sort of a clear nudge or a marker, you are supposed to tighten it to this point, no further.
Yeah.
Then she would know that she shouldn't tighten it further, at which point she would probably be in risk of developing gangrene and having her leg fall off.
Yes.
You know?
I lost my leg for the Emperor.
Yes.
I were an adventurer like you once, and then I lost my leg for the Emperor.
But then you can get a bionic replacement.
Yes.
And I think while going back to the thing, while the drill abbot is going to get some bandages, I don't know how long it'll take, but just in case it takes a little while, Accolon will kneel down in front of Medea.
Dangerous.
Yes. Even more dangerous coming up. He attempts to take. Is she praying in the manner with her hands together, or is there some other special?
Hands together with her forehead resting against them. Basically kneeling over whatever seating there were in there.
He will he'll quietly say Medea's name.
Yeah.
And then he'll try holding her praying hands together in his, if that means he gets some blood on himself.
He'll probably get a little dirty from that, yes?
That's fine. And then quietly, this is again, he can't heal her, but this is what he's going to do. He looks at her calmly and in a way that he hopes comes across as warm and friendly. I did buy up his fellowship last time. And he says, "Say after me. Love the Emperor, for he is the salvation of..."
You faded there. You need
Yeah, I were like, okay.
Remember to not speak softly, even if that is what your character is doing. But if you speak softly, your character, the microphone won't pick it up.
It's not good enough, I tell you.
Really wanted Medea to go, what?
He's just like,
no, he says
the Emperor because what? Hey, speak up, mister.
He is the salvation of mankind.
She looks up and repeats it. a little confused because she's sitting right in front of her, holding her hands, trying to look friendly.
I know, it's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's weird. Normally, when people look like that, it was right before they'd murder you somewhere.
Yeah.
And then he continues. He continues the prayer: obey his words, heed his wisdom, whisper his prayers with devotion, for they will save your soul. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
It is basically. I won't do them all, but it's basically the six verses that he knows best and gets her to repeat them because he's hoping that by doing it with her and adding a personal touch, it might give the prayer more meaning for her.
It's pretty clever, actually. You know,
The question then becomes, Medea, does it actually mean something more than the other prayers she's done?
Well, I don't know what other prayers she has heard.
Well, she's probably heard what Accolon said, but this is a much more personal and intimate setting with not necessarily a friend, but a comrade in arms, so to speak.
Yes.
Someone who's close to her.
someone who genuinely seems to care.
Yes.
It's
Well, the fact that she's been starved from per actual touch and contact, and someone actually is holding her hands, I think she's crying.
Cool.
Wow.
oh
That's deep.
That is deep. And okay. So you repeat with the prayers as Accolon instructs. And this what I'm hearing is that this is profoundly it's a profound moment for Medea.
She's always seen the Emperor as something big and scary that you're supposed to fear for the sake of your life, and now it's warm and personal. Not only that, no one has ever actually tried
and
kindness before. It's weird.
It's true, really, because the Drill Abbot's style and how he's trained as an ecclesiarch is very much about fire and brimstone. He is born and raised as an ecclesiarch, at least on the battlefield. So that's really what his style is, and so this
he does come across as kind of brusque, I think, is the best way of putting it.
Yes.
Well, that's the kind of person she's most accustomed to actually dealing with.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have the emotional outburst. But this was new, and no one has ever dealt with her like that before.
Okay. So how long does this continue, Accolon and Medea, do you think? This
I don't know. That depends on how long he's gonna hold her hand.
as long as the prayer takes, and then it's a case of him. I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to let go of her hands until, either unless she tells him to, or until the Drill Abbot comes along.
Okay.
And he'll. He might just try talking to her.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Holy shit. Yep.
So
Thing just got real here.
Compassion, I take it, is a rare quality in this universe.
yes.
What is what?
Compassion is a rare quality. Yes, it really is.
So my question is, Accolon, you try to speak to her or with her. What's the nature of this conversation?
About how she is actually doing, about how she feels about the situation she finds herself in, how she feels about the way that the light of the Emperor has been reaching her, or indeed not reaching her, as the case may be, in that maybe as he's quick to pick up on from what's happened here, is that maybe the Drill Abbot's method of preaching the way of the God Emperor has not been the correct way to reach Medea, who is at a formative time in her life. Let's put it that way. It's almost like I hesitate to say it almost feels like he's having the dad talking to his daughter who's just outed that she's a lesbian talk sort of thing.
Okay.
Although that's not quite the same.
No, but
he's definitely trying to present himself as someone who's actually who's actually listening to her, who's actually trying to reach out and yeah. And
what is it about you, Chris, always ending up making the conscience of the group?
because
He's good at it.
Yep,
I like to think of myself as the conscience of the role-playing group because I'm the only one that's.
I'm glad you do, because I am, as we all know, I am utterly unconscionable.
Yeah.
What? I'm clearly the conscience. I mean, with my high moral standards and.
I think, quite frankly, you are the Rasmus. You are the ego. I think Joan is the id, and I'm not sure who is the super ego actually.
What the fuck is the super ego? Does that have superpowers? No. I want to be it.
It's the third part of the human psyche, but I can't for life of me remember what it involves.
So we're coming up on a break shortly, but I'd like to hear how Medea responds to all this conversation and talking. Just the two of you in this small cell. How does Medea react?
Pretty obvious that she isn't used to it, and it's also pretty obvious that she doesn't know how to. And it takes quite a while for her to gather herself again.
Cool. So I, at least as I imagine it, it's very much a matter of Akalon doing most of the talking, and Medea answering in short answers.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. With that, I think we'll take our first break, and then we will be right back.